Four, three, two, one. Hello and welcome to another episode of Queer Women of Colour podcast vlog. I still don't have a name yet, so if you've got any suggestions, please do let me know. On today's show, we've got a fantastic guest in the house. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. So my name is Charita Marie. Pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic, thank you. Would you just repeat that name for me, please?
Charita Marie.
Charita Marie, thank you. Fantastic, Charita. Where are you located? And would you just like to give us a little bit of an introduction to who you are, whatever your family makeup, what you do if you want to? Some of the boring stuff,
Absolutely.
not so boring stuff.
Absolutely. So currently I live in Playa del Carmen, Quintana Roo, Mexico. So I'm in the Yucatan Peninsula. I'm a resident of Mexico. So I've been here full time, going on 7 months. So I absolutely love it. I first visited the area back in 2020 and then consistently was visiting since November of 2022. And then mid 2023, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to stay. So here we are. I do work remotely. So I do have I work for a tech company that's based in California. So I'm excited to kind of have that privilege to be able to work remote and live where I want to live. Prior to deciding to be a resident here in Mexico, I was kind of living a nomadic life. And so just traveling to different states in the US. I went over across the pond and was in Europe a little bit, really enjoyed Portugal and actually was considering, moving there. But just because of family, I said, Mexico is definitely quicker or closer. It's a quicker flight back if needed. So I decided to be here in Mexico.
Okay, fantastic. I love that. I love Mexico as a country. I lived there a long time ago. And definitely I've got fond memories of the country and the Yucatan. So are you close to Merida? Is that where you are, or where did you say you are?
So I'm in the state of Quintana Roo. Merida is in the state of Yucatan. It's about 3.5 hours away. I was just there like 2 weeks ago. I drove up there, so that was really nice. But closer to Cancun. So you fly into Cancun, I'm like 45 minutes away.
Yeah, okay. I remember it fondly a long time ago. It's a beautiful place to be.
It is. The people are great. The weather's great. The beach is great. So
the food is fresh as well. That's one of the great things about those parts of the world. The food is locally produced. So lots of juices I remember from over there.
Lots of juices, lots of fruits, new fruits I never had before. So
yeah, I remember it fondly. So what exactly drew you to Mexico, and what was the pull between Mexico and Portugal as a queer woman of color? Kind of, was that a factor or not at all?
So, good question. I would say what probably drew me to Mexico, a couple things. I knew some people here. There's definitely a large Black expat community here. Not that I just need to only be around Black people. Mexico is very LGBTQ friendly. They do have constitutional protections. I love the beach. I'm a beach person. I love that the law in Playa del Carmen is that all the beaches are free all the time. So even if there's like a resort or hotel on the beach, they don't own it and you still have access to it, versus some other cities here in Mexico. It's not the same. Some of those are owned by resorts. I also like the Caribbean water. So I like the warm water. The water's cold.
Yeah.
Barcelona, I went, the water was cold. And so I can appreciate the warm water here. And then realistically, I'm not quite sure in Portugal how I didn't really meet a lot of queer people. I was only there a couple weeks. I definitely met a lot of expats and people of color, but I tend to meet a lot of queer people in Mexico. And so I can definitely appreciate kind of having my tribe and finding my people.
Fantastic. You would say that where you are now, you've got your tribe and your people there?
I think that I have definitely found a good group of people. I think I'm an extrovert, so I probably find people everywhere. But Playa is just different. And I try not to go into a country and only connect with other expats. And so there are a lot of Mexicans that have really just taken me in like family. We have weekly family dinners, we hang out with our kids, or kids have events I go to. And so I appreciate just how welcoming they are. And then, you know, I'm learning Spanish. I think I've gotten much better at it, but they can appreciate my effort. And then, you know, if I say something, they're like, oh, that's nice, but we don't really say that here. That's something you'd say, it's more formal, or you'd say it in Mexico City, and then they'll tell me what to say here. And so that's been pretty awesome too.
That's cool. Yeah, Mexican people, I've got very fond memories of my time in the country as a whole, so definitely great. Um, so queer community was a factor for you when you were thinking about where to relocate to. Would you say that?
Absolutely. There are many countries. So I mentioned how I was doing like a nomad life before. And there are a lot of countries I want to go to that I just can't bring myself to go yet, because they have the death penalty for being queer, or, you know, up to 10 years in prison. And it's not like you're going to automatically know who I am. So I'm sure I'll be safe just walking through the streets, but I do struggle with putting my money into the economy. Who would
Okay.
harm or hurt someone, kill someone based on who they love just because they're like me? So I definitely need to be somewhere that's LGBTQ friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And I prefer legal protections. So
That makes total sense. So do you feel that you're seen as your full self in the spaces that you're in, as, and do you need to be seen? Is that important to you, as your full self, as your full authentic self?
I think that, so I know I mentioned I worked for a company, but I'm a global DEI leader. And so, you know, we spend a lot of time, just at work and what I do, talking about people being able to show up their full authentic selves. And while I think that's important, what I think is we have to make space for people showing up how they want to show up. So everyone
Mm-hmm.
doesn't want to give you all of them every time they go somewhere. And so what I can say is I'm pretty open about being queer. I am visibly Black. You know, people make the assumption that I am biological female, which I am. So I think I can kind of move through the world with some of these identities, and there's some privilege in that. Now, if I start to share other aspects of my life and other demographics, like I'm a foster adoptive bio parent, you know, I share a daughter with my previous ex. She was the biological carrier, the one who carried. Like there's these other aspects that I'm not going to share with, I guess I shared it now, but I may not share with any stranger, right? And so to show up my full authentic self would be every last piece of me. And I feel comfortable showing up in the spaces where I'm at. And then
Mm-hmm.
as that comfort, as I have more psychological safety and I get more comfortable, then I'll share more parts of me, right? So I definitely have here in Plano, and Mexico is a very religious country. Mexicans are very religious people, and still super accepting, you know, of who I am and who I may date and who I'm around. And so it's been a really, really great experience.
That's fantastic. Um, what advice would you give to your 15, 16-year-old self?
So that's interesting because I had an interesting upbringing. Both my parents were Marines, and so they met in the military. And so as a kid, I traveled quite a bit
Mm-hmm.
because we moved all the time. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I was like in one place. And so finally, I was like, "Oh, I've been here too long. Like, I need to go." So it definitely wouldn't be anything about travel because I already had a passport. I'd already traveled a lot in the States as well as internationally. Um, And I don't think I have like this traditional, that's a good question because I don't have like a traditional coming out story. I just was like, oh, this is my girlfriend when I was in high school, just brought her home. Like, um,
And how were your parents about that?
my
How was
parents
your
were
environment?
my parents were super supportive. They were
Mm-hmm.
super supportive. If I'm being quite honest, I'm pretty sure that my father, they're very religious people. They're still to this very, very religious people, Christian. And if I'm being honest, I'm pretty sure my dad may have been anti-LGBTQIA plus.
Okay.
um, but then he has a queer daughter and he's super supportive of my partnerships and relationships and people I've dated, wanting to come to the Pride Parade and do free dad hugs. And my daughter that my previous partner carried, she's the same birthday as my father. So he's like, oh, that's my twin. Like super, super supportive. So I feel like sometimes people are set in their ways until it touches home until it's close, right? And then it's like, oh, well, I love my daughter. And so maybe any ideas he thought about queer people were changed. We haven't quite had that conversation because he's just so damn supportive. Like, it's
So
been great.
you haven't needed to have that, and you haven't felt a way about the situation either. It's just been love from your family.
Yeah, it's been really, really great. I think I have the answer to your question.
Okay.
What would I tell my younger 15, 16-year-old self? I am a planner. I've been a planner. I knew at like 14, 15, I was going to go to college. I was going to major in accounting, and I did. From day one, took all the classes needed, in and out in 4 years, did my MBA in accounting. I knew I was going to, be an accountant for a long time. Like, I had really written out what I was going to do. And maybe planning is good, but maybe have a couple of options and not hold on to those plans so much that if the plans don't come through or something changes, that it almost paralyzes me because it's like, oh my gosh, like, what am I supposed to do? And so I think I would definitely tell myself to kind of let go of some of that. Things change and it's okay.
Would you say that about yourself now? Are you more flexible, or you're still kind of quite rigid in your plans today?
I'm definitely more flexible. But I want to point out that I turned 40 last year and I probably got more flexible last year. Like, it still took me a while.
It's just finding that balance, isn't it? That happy balance, but understanding who you are as well. You are the planner, you are the person that plans things, and there's a place for everything and everyone, So
Yes.
Maybe applicable to you now, maybe it was more applicable to you years ago, but do you have any queer icons of colour? So in particular, queer women of colour, who are people that you look up to, you like, you admire, you are inspired by, or so do you have any, or did you have any?
I didn't. So I know I kind of mentioned, I grew up in the military and I grew up in a time where don't ask, don't tell. So there wasn't any queer representation around me, very Christian household. So I didn't have access to a lot of magazines or TV shows or books or anything. So I just kind of on my own. I think I was 11 when I kissed a girl. I was like, oh, I like girls, but I had no experience. I had no representation. I was out here just kind of trying to figure it out on my own. Now, I think the people who inspire me are people that I know. Okay. They're not icons. They're not famous people, but they are friends of mine, people I've met who are queer, who are women, and are doing great things in the community, or doing great things for their family. I've seen them overcome a lot. And I think those are the people I look up to, and I can like reach out and touch and support them or ask questions, or they'll help me. So I think that's what kind of where I am with that.
Okay, that's cool. What's your favorite thing about yourself?
Well, physically, probably my hair and my smile, but
have you got locks? Is that locks that I can see?
I do, yes. I have sister locks.
Yeah, they're pretty well maintained.
I love them. I love them. So I will say that I am a very genuine person. I'm a very loyal person, sometimes to a fault. I have to have a conversation with myself. But I believe in the good in people. Okay. I just try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I don't think people intend to be malicious. And I'm a pretty effective communicator. So I would have to say that. I just think I'm pretty dope, just to be honest.
That's a starting point, to be fair. And if you don't think that you are dope, then how can you expect other people to think that you are? So that's, part of it, self-love. I
tell people all the time that I just assume everyone likes me. And if you don't like me, there's probably something wrong with you. And now maybe I don't need to be around you anyway, because I'm too awesome for that.
Oh, where did that come from?
I don't know. I've always had like this super confidence. I'm a nice person. Like I'm genuinely like, I'm a nice person. So why would you not like nice people? I help people, I go out of my way like to help people. And I believe in the goodness of people. I do. I think so. I started fostering in 2008. And as eventually switched over and only take teenagers. And
say that again, sorry, say that last part again. What did you say?
Yeah, so I started fostering in 2008. And of course, a lot of people like little children, but eventually I only wanted to take teenagers. Okay. I was like, this is where I shine. you're the same size as me, I can talk to you a little differently, like teens, right? And you used to always hear teens are bad, no one wants them. And I was like, but what's happening? Like they're not bad. There's an action that's occurring that's bad. But why is the reason? What's the reason? No one wants to be in trouble. No one wants to have things taken away from them. No one wants to get kicked out of houses. So I believe in the good. I think we're all good. We just got to figure out what's going on to make sure our behaviors align with who we are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thinking about the great things that you do now and the future, what do you most look forward to about the future?
Good question. I think it depends on how far in the future. So I love Mexico, and I'm kind of still traveling throughout Central and South America. I look forward to just meeting new people, learning new cultures, new ways of life. I don't know where I'll end up, so I'm kind of looking forward to what my next adventure is, my next journey. I think I've changed quite a bit in the last 5 years. So 5, 10 years from now, what's that evolution going to look like? So I'm kind of looking forward to that. So I think I'm kind of in love with the unknown right now.
Okay. Just go do 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 wherever or whatever. Kind of
Whatever.
Maybe you're able to answer the next question. Maybe you don't feel that you're able to, but it's kind of similar to the previous question. But how would you like to be remembered?
It's going to sound kind of as a good person. Like, I love that I have friends who know I'm going to show up for them. I have friends who know I'm loyal. I like to ask, like the security guards in my apartment. If we get someone new, I'm like, I stop. Hey, what's your name? My name's Charita. Like, it's nice to meet you. Like, having conversations and doing so in Spanish. So I want them to, feel more comfortable with their language as well. Plus, I need to learn it. But I want anyone who comes, any interaction they have with me, when they leave, I want them to be better. Whether it's as simple as we had a conversation, I think I'm a whole comedian, so I'm going to tell jokes. I love that you're laughing when I talk because it's great, right? So even if you walk away and you had a smile on your face, if it's, we were friends for a long time and maybe that ended, but you're still in a better place or better position. Like, I don't want anyone to have an interaction with me and when they leave, it's a negative. So I want to be remembered in some positive light. And I think that is different for different people. So yeah.
Okay. I'm just I'm having a look through my list as I look to the left. What one thing would you say that you're not particularly good at?
That I'm not good at. Not gonna say no. I gotta work on that. I'm not good at. I don't like cooking. I'm not gonna say I'm not good at it. I don't. But I feel like people who really love cooking are like great at it, right? They probably felt the love in it. I can follow a recipe, but I'm not like on my own figuring anything out. So I'm definitely not good at that. Letting go.
Okay.
I'm not good at letting go, whether it's a partnership, a friendship, it could be a job where I'm like, I know I don't need to be working at this company anymore. And then I'm concerned with what are they gonna do without me? So yeah, letting go.
What is that about? What are they gonna do without me? Is that kind of ego or?
No, like I think I remember when we want to talk about the current job because they pay the bills, right? So I remember a previous job I had when I got hired. I was still doing accounting at the time. I was supposed to be a fund controller over one fund, which is a full-time job. The week I started, somebody who was the controller over another fund, she quit. And so my VP was just like really freaking out, trying to figure out how we're going to manage it. I said, hey, no problem. I will do that other fund until you hire someone. I did it for 3 years. And my dad used to say, they're not going to hire someone else and you're doing it. You have to like say no or leave the job. And I'm like, but if I leave, and I really liked my manager, I was like, she's gonna now have 2 funds that she has to manage. And I was really concerned about it, like that loyal to a fault, that loyal to jobs and loyal to people, right? So it wasn't even an ego, like I was good at my job. But I was more so concerned with, I'm going to be leaving them in need. And I've got to let that go. I've got to let that go.
They've got a budget for 2 people for 2 jobs. Yep.
Like, you were paying someone before I got here, and now it's just me. Like, no.
And if they're not paying 2 people, one, then yep.
Yeah.
So talking about money, jobs, work, if money wasn't a factor, what would you do with your free time? What would you do with your life?
And if money wasn't a factor, well, one, I would not work because I work, 5 days a week. And I would travel and do all the experiences. Even if Mexico is my home base, I want to explore all of Mexico. There's so many different topographies here, different cultures, getting more invested in the Mayan culture. There's certain parts of Mexico that still have a lot of Spanish influences. There's a part of Mexico where it's all Black people. And so I'm trying to get over there. So I would just love to explore this country holistically and then move to another and live there and explore it holistically, because the experience I have in Playa del Carmen, it's not the same like when I went to Merida a couple of weeks ago. And it wouldn't be the same when I'm in Mexico City. And it wouldn't be the same if I was on a remote island. And so I love to just move around and experience it. And I would do that all the time and do all the adventures and excursions. And I would love to live with local families to really get that experience. So yeah, that would be me full time.
If you get the chance, two of my favorite places in Mexico, one is in the state of Jalisco, which is called Sayulita. So it's a little fishing village if you're into things like that.
Yes.
And so that's one of my favorite places. And then one of my other favorite places is San Juan de las Casas, I think, down in Oaxaca, or down in San Cristobal, I think.
Yeah. San Cristobal down there, yeah.
Yeah, it's down in that region. I can't remember exactly, but it's the capital place. De las Casas. Las Casas. 2 incredible, like, sleepy places if you're into sleepy places. And
yes, everything doesn't have to be go, go, go. I like a slow pace sometimes. I went to Puerto Viejo over in Costa Rica.
Okay.
It's the Caribbean side. So you fly into San Jose, and then you got to either drive about 4 or 5 hours to Puerto Viejo, or you can take a 45-minute flight to Limon, which is what I did, and then another 45-minute taxi down. So it's a ways to get there, but it's on the Caribbean side of Costa Rica, also a very kind of slow-paced town. There's a lot of tourists coming now, but still, I like a slow pace. I'm nonstop in my life, so slow is good.
Yeah, I hear you there. I think I'm going to ask you a question. So when I have guests on the show, I ask my guests to give me a question for the next guest. So I'm just going to have a look at what I've written down. There are 2 questions because I had a couple on the last episode. Okay. So question number 1, what would you do to contribute to our community to make it a happier place to be?
What would I contribute to the community where I'm at, or the queer women?
The queer community in particular. So what would you do to contribute to our community? So the queer community we're talking about. Make it happy.
So it's very interesting because I feel like we have all these different avenues, right? There's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's WhatsApp groups, and I think we're all kind of spread out like in these spaces. It would be great to have a centralized location, because even if there's like the United States, constitutional protections for queer people, but there are still some places I maybe would not go, and I'd want to be able to communicate what those experiences are to everyone broadly. So if there was some way to have a centralized place, a centralized community, it doesn't have to be a social media platform, but something where you can, hey, I had this experience, you may want to be careful, or hey, I had a great experience, y'all may want to check this out, or hey, there's a queer-owned bed and breakfast here. There, if you visit this country, I know there's many different excursions and things you can do, but there's this queer person who owns something. Like, finding a way to connect us, and so we can house all that information. And then if someone else has a different experience, like, hey, I noticed 3 years ago, Charita had this experience there. The country has changed, or policies have changed. I went and this happened. And so just really keeping us in real time abreast of what's going on. I know, like, depending on your country, like, United States, I can go and look at the travel advisories and see if there's an advisory when it comes to queer people in other countries, but it doesn't mean that that's how it really is when you're on the ground and you're there. And so I'd love a way to create that network, and then also have a repository of our information. So a lot of us go to these other countries, and if something were to happen to us there, no one knows how to reach our family, right? No one knows how to say, hey, Charita's in the hospital, she needs somebody to come, or there was a situation here in Playa before I got here where there was an expat who passed away here, and nobody knew how to find, no one knew who they were. They went by like a pseudonym and a nickname, and no one knew how to contact their family. And so their body was just here. And it's like, no one knows how to tell anyone. So trying to create that network where I can go and say, Charita, or choose a country, or maybe there's a picture of me or something, and it lists my parents' information or email address or something, where we can reach out to one another and stay connected and help each other out.
Sounds like an app opportunity there, maybe, if that's something that
Possibly.
you're interested in developing.
I think about it all the time, but I'm like, oh, the effort.
Yeah, the effort, and you would need a whole lot of money for that kind of project and manpower. Yeah. But like anything, it's starting off small, isn't it? And then, building on the back of that. San Cristobal de las Casas, I think, is where the place is called that I was talking about.
Okay.
It's called San Cris, I think is the short version, but that's a lovely place. And so the other question, I think, does apply to you from that couple is, how was it with your children journey of coming out? So maybe it doesn't apply because maybe you came out before, but being a queer woman and having a child or children, how has that experience been for you?
My experience has been great. I've always been queer, and so that's why I kind of rocked with for a while. And then I think I kind of was like, okay, well, bisexual when I was younger. And then I was like, yeah, I'm not bisexual. I tried. So men are cool, just not, me. And so I just went back to queer, and I have children who super supportive. I have 2 biological children. I have 4 adopted children. I have 5 other children who aged out of foster care, who I'm still in their lives and as their mother. And then I have my daughter that my previous partner carried. Everyone, other than my last 2, one is 10 and one is 7, they're all adults at this point. They're 18 or older. Adults. They're legally 18 or older. Super supportive. I've never had an issue. Never had an issue. And so I'm really appreciative of that. My youngest daughter, of course, is born to 2 moms, so it's just kind of what she knows. And the 10-year-old, that's what she knows pretty much as well. But yeah, it's great.
Can I ask you, what part of the US did you live in when you had, when you were raising your family, and so on? Because was that a factor in terms of how the ease that you had to do what you did and live your life?
No, sweetie, Texas, Dallas, Texas. Texas has lovely anti-queer legislation, more so towards trans people, but it was difficult to have a foster care agency who was okay or supportive, because the state has their minimum requirements, and then you have these agencies that can put their own requirements, and most of them are religious-based and anti-queer. There are a couple who are not. So all of that was interesting, but they knew I am who I am. I'm not going to hide it. I'm letting you know up front. There's going to be an agency I can work with, and so it wasn't difficult finding the agency. And yeah, they're supportive too.
Brilliant. Really good to know. What would you like to ask? What would you like me to ask my next guest?
That's a great question. So I think it depends on if the guest is partnered or single, because I would want to know, if they're single, how is this journey affecting their dating life and being able to move to another country and not have a partner? Or, does it, because I see a lot of people who move together, which I think is great. But then others, I kind of did both, moved, and then now I'm single. So I had both situations. And so I can say, though, it can be easier, I feel like, if you're already partnered. And so if someone is single, I probably would want to know, is being an expat or being a nomad traveling, has it had a negative impact? Is it, shifting their opinion or views when it comes to living this life? Would they prefer to have a partner to do it with?
Let me just condense that question down. So if they're single, what is the question that you would like me to ask them if they're single?
If they're single, would they prefer to have a partner to travel with or be an expat with? Or are they okay with doing this on their own?
Okay. And then if they're not single, or
If they're not single, or if they're already coupled, that's a great question.
you don't have
If
to
they're
have one.
coupled,
Another question if you don't want one, if you don't have one.
okay, I'm gonna stick with that one, with the first one.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
good. I think we're going to kind of start wrapping things up. So I'm going to ask you a question. What would you have liked me to have asked you? Was there anything that you wanted to talk about specifically? And we haven't touched on that?
I think I had no idea. So I don't think I had like a strong opinion or view or thought process. So there wasn't anything that we missed that I felt like we should have talked about.
Okay, cool. Do you offer any services, or do you do anything? For example, like the question I'm asking is there anything that you offer the world and would like people to find you? So this is an opportunity for you to plug your services or anything that you do, or if you want people to find you, this would be the great time to do that, or not.
So I mentioned I'm a global DEI leader for a tech company. Maybe I mentioned that. But outside of that, I do some diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging training and consulting for organizations and companies. So if they also work for a company and need some DEIB consulting or training, I definitely have that service. I don't know if I should send my LinkedIn or how that works.
You can say it now, and then I can also add it onto the text, the blurb once the video's up and live. So if there's anything that you want to say now, and then it can, because basically this will be both audio and it will be a video. So
okay, great. Yeah, so I'll see you, but you can find me on LinkedIn. It's under Charita Bradley. So CHARITA BRADLEY. So you can find me. It's www.linkedin.com/IN/Charita Bradley. CHARITA BRADLEY. Outside of that, I think I'm just enjoying documenting the places I go with some of my adventures. And so feel free to follow me on Instagram. So if you go to any of these areas, I'm dropping suggestions on things to do. And so that would be at Marie Charita, MARIECHARITA on Instagram.
Cool, fantastic. I think that we've kind of come to a natural end, a natural conclusion of our time together. So I'm going to say thank you for all of your honesty, Charita, and thank you for your openness and your energy. And yeah, that's it from me. So for anyone who would like to share their story on this blog, please get in contact, and we'd be happy to share your journey and your story as well. Like, share, and subscribe this story. And thank you very much, Charita. Take care. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.